acts of animal cruelty from a Class A misdemeanor to a Class D felony. It's basically designed to try to stop the cockfighting efforts and certain fighting of animals that they have in that state. Then we have in Florida, we have a measure called Amendment 10. It's also called the Florida Anti-Cruelty Amendment, and that's designed to change the size of gestation crates for pregnant pigs. Basically, would take them out of crates and allow them to be, just to roam free within the hog farms down there. And then the third issue we have is in Oklahoma, which is banning cockfighting itself. It's one of the last three states, Louisiana and New Mexico being the other two, that actually still allows cockfighting to be legal.
And who are sponsoring these amendments?
Well, the animal protection movement is a wide. There are a wide variety of groups that are behind these. Primarily, you have the Humane Society of the United States and the Fund for Animals. You also have the groups like the Doris Day Animal League. It's a very large group of animal protection organizations out there that are supporting these measures.
Okay, with Florida and pregnant pigs, who's opposing that?
Well, there's two different arguments there. One is that you have the people who are just on the economic side who are saying that this would have an impact on the economy in the state, but there are only 2 hog farms in the state. But there are also people there who are opposing it because this would be a constitutional amendment, and people are opposed to it because why put in the state constitution an amendment that would ban the size of gestation crates for pigs?
And will it pass?
It should pass. I mean, I think all 3 of these will pass. Animal protection has been around since the 90s as a movement through the initiative process. They've done very well. It looks like all 3 of these should pass. And
with regard to cockfighting, who's opposed to it?
Well, there are 2 groups opposed to it there. You do have the pro-cockfighters or the pro-hunters. I mean, a lot of hunting groups are opposed to it because they're afraid that, if this passes, then what will be the next the next avenue that the animal protection people take. Then you have the other group that are concerned about, big government, trying to tell them, what to do, that they should ban this certain type of issue within the state. But, there's a strong support for the measure there, and it should pass overwhelmingly.
Dane Waters is president of the Initiative and Referendum Institute. The website is IandRinstitute.org if you'd like more information about some of the ballot initiatives across the country for this election day. Again, thanks for joining us this morning.
Thanks for having me.
And building off that, this is the question we want to ask you for the next 25 minutes or so. What rights should animals have? We've divided our phone lines. You can see there, 202 is the area code for all of our numbers. 585-3881 for Democrats, 585-3880 for Republicans, 585-3882 if you are neither of the above. And we have our international line open, 585-3883, pardon me, journal@cspan.org. Please allow 30 days between your calls. In the Washington Post this morning, tackles the cockfighting issue. Oklahoma Initiative tackles tradition. Large article by Lee Hochstetter on the cockfighting tradition and the ballot initiatives. And in the article he writes, besides Oklahoma, the sport remains legal only in Louisiana and 9 counties of New Mexico. In Arkansas, where cockfighting is popular despite being banned in 1879, a proposal on Tuesday's ballot would reclassify it as a felony. Polls suggest the vote will be close. The tougher law is opposed by the State Farm Bureau, not to mention 2 of the nation's biggest cockfighting magazines, The Feathered Warrior and The Gamecock, which are published in the state of Arkansas. That's in the Washington Post. Also in the Washington Post, federal judge blocks new Navy sonar. A federal judge has blocked the Navy from deploying its long-planned and powerful new sonar system, concluding that the deafening underwater sounds could injure and kill whales protected by law. Responding to a lawsuit filed by environmental groups against the Navy and other federal agencies, U.S. Magistrate Elizabeth Laporte in San Francisco issued a temporary injunction stopping the Navy from deploying the high-volume, low-frequency active sonar worldwide because of its likely danger to marine mammals. But Laporte also agreed with the Navy that a ban on the new sonar could hamper military preparedness and ordered the 2 sides to work out a compromise, creating zones where the equipment could be tested and sailors could be trained in its use. Still, the decision was a rebuke to the Bush administration, which had argued that it could deploy the sonar while adequately protecting marine life. First call up on this topic comes from Springfield, Virginia. Good morning.
Morning. I just wanted to say, with regard to your question about what kind of rights animals should have, I don't know that I have an answer for that, but I think it would be I don't know. I think it would be wonderful if everyone was concerned about protecting animals from cruelty and abuse. And I wanted to say that I think that the ballot initiatives are a wonderful thing. If the state legislatures that are so wrapped up with responding to business interests won't act on behalf of animals, I think it's great that the public has the option to do this. And with regard for the people that have concern about the Amendment 10, the pregnant sow issue, there didn't seem to be this kind of outcry, for instance, in Virginia in the last election when they had something to amend the Virginia Constitution to add a right to hunt and fish. And I would just say that I feel that if people would learn how to treat animals better, which is something they can do from the time they're little children, we'd end up having people treating people better and we'd have a better world. I know that sounds awfully idealistic and maybe silly to some people, but I think that in the long run that's correct.
Houston, you're on the air. Good morning.
I don't think animals have any rights at all.
Why is that?
I think God gave us control of the animals, and I think it's wrong to abuse the species. But to give a dog rights, that's just silly. And the last caller was very silly. If we want to start solving problems, let's start with the most important ones. Not, whether people wear fur coats or whether people go hunting. That's just crazy. Animals have no rights. And it's crazy that penalties are greater for hurting animals than it is for hurting children.
Thanks. Thanks for your call. Thanks to the museum also, we have access to front pages from around the world. Here's the Houston Chronicle's front page this morning talking about voting, a head start on Election Day. Yesterday was the last day for early voting in Houston. It says that the turnout is very high. 151,000 votes have already been cast early, 66,000 more than in the 1998 midstream turnout. Next call, La Mesa, California. Good morning.
Good morning, and again, you do such a great job. Thank you for being there as an American. Well, in reference to animals, I love animals, and just look around us. They give us so much pleasure, and I realize that it's a difficult question to how to deal with animals that we do eat, unfortunately, but anyway, let's come up with some respect for humans as well as animals. But there's another thing I wanted to add in reference to the earlier calls about age. We have a discrimination law in this country, and it's against the law to discriminate against age. I'm older too, but I also find that being an older person, younger people like me. Because I sort of remind them of their parents. And after all, I leave you with one question. The only reason people that are older have more knowledge is because we've lived longer and solved more problems. So wake up, America. We love you all, and go vote. Bye.
Concord, California, Republican line. Good morning.
Yes, that was the most refreshing call so far. I also agree with the other person that the hurtful idea to the idea itself is the extremes. I mean, animals have right to be respected, but we do depend on animals. We have to have animals to survive ourselves. So that's my logic on that. And the logic on the previous call, the gentleman on the immigrant side, his logic was to have an orderly immigration policy so everybody can match the endless jobs in the United States. Let's say his logic is, okay, let's match everybody who wants to come here with an orderly fashion a job. But there is not a such thing that unlimited job potential in this country. So what are you going to do with the people outside who still want to come? They will come regardless, whatever his logic is. I think he is proposing his logic just to it's a job. If he abandons his logic, he's out of a job.
Okay. Back in June in the Washington Post, Dr. Stephen Wise, there's an article about him. He is somebody who is in support of animal rights. And this is what he writes. This is what is written in the article. Support for legal standing for animals appears strong among the public. A survey last year conducted by the Zogby International Polling Company for the Chimpanzee Collaboratory, a group working to stop abuse of great apes, asked 1,217 adults, how do you think chimpanzees should be treated under the U.S. legal system? 20% said chimpanzees should be treated like property, such as a car or furniture, but 51% said similar to children with a guardian to look out for their interests, and 9% said same as adults with all the same legal rights. Next call comes from Cleveland. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing right well, thank you. I'm getting ready to go feed, and I watch C-SPAN a lot. I would like, if you would be so kind as to pull up the initiative petition, the question that the people in Oklahoma are going to be voting on, and read it to your viewers. You will find that the punishment for possessing a fighting cock with intent to fight, not the fighting, but possession with intent to fight, carries 10 years in the state penitentiary. Now, it's ludicrous to think that a person can raise a fighting cock, can raise a chicken, and possess that chicken, and be subject to a felony and serve more time in the state penitentiary than a person that beats his wife up. It's a ludicrous bill as far as I'm concerned. And if you would be so kind as to pull that up and read that to the people and let the people of the United States know what the real issue is here, it would be most informative, I think.
Thanks for the call. Where did you find the initiative?
Where
did you find the language?
Well, it's on the ballot. I'm sure that your research staff could hit the internet and pull it up.
Well, that's a good idea. We'll try to do that. Next call, Mount Ayr, Georgia. Good morning.
Good morning. I appreciate you all, what you do. And I'm certainly in agreement with the virtue in animal protection. But what about humans and the unborn babies, and particularly the partial birth abortion? That's torturing a living baby that feels it. And I also thought there are laws that we need to follow in this country, and we're getting away from them. The law for during these political elections, the breaking of the law by bad judges is ruining our country, and the same with immigration.
But back to animals.
Well, okay. I agree that there is virtue in this.
Okay, thanks for your call this morning. Thanks for your call. Star Tribune this morning, front page, three parties pile on one. There was a gubernatorial debate last night, and both Roger Moe and the independent Tim Penny, according to the Star Tribune, piled on to Tim Pawlenty, who is the front runner. And in the Chicago Tribune this morning, when Arnold met Rob, a California political dream, at the bottom of the paper. We'll scan down. And this is looking ahead to the potential gubernatorial race in 2006 in California, Arnold Schwarzenegger versus Rob Reiner. Next call on whether or not animals have rights or should have rights, Palm Desert, California. Good morning.
Yes, good morning. Yes, I do believe animals have rights. I believe cockfighting is, I believe violence creates violence. And, if you're, and a lot of these mass murderers and stuff, they start off like, killing cats, killing dogs, that kind of stuff. But the main thing I want to say is I was unaware of it until you read it, but I'm absolutely thrilled that the high volume sonar frequencies have been stopped, because that was absolutely decimating to our oceans. Can you imagine, having a huge rock concert outside your front door, and you'd just be totally disconcerted.
And here's that article from the Washington Post as we take our next call from San Antonio. Good morning.
Good morning. This is San Antonio calling, and I'm calling in regards to the rights of animals. I'd like to pass along the comments by Patriarch Bartholomew of the Eastern Orthodox Church. His comment was, God gave us dominion over animals, not domination. So that implies protection, and that implies consideration. And if you have an animal, a pet animal, you see their reactions are just like ours. They have the same feelings we do. They just don't talk like we do. So really, truly, I think it reflects on us as human beings, the way we treat our animals. If we inflict pain and are cruel to them, starve them, what kind of people are we?
Journal@cspan.org is our email address. If you have an opinion on this, we'll try to read as many as we can. This is the front page of the Kansas City Star. Get out, the vote gets in high gear. And on the left-hand column, voter support of wars limited. This was a poll done in Missouri and in Kansas. And in this, it says that the poll found people evenly split about whether the U.S. is winning the war on terrorism. Missouri, 40% said yes, 40% said no. Kansas, 37% said yes, 41% said no. New York City, good morning.
Good morning. There's a magnificent book out now called Dominion, and the author Scully says we're called on to treat animals with kindness, not because they have rights or power or have some claim to equality, but in a sense because they don't, because they all stand unequal and powerless before us, and that's our duty to protect them. And as far as the gestation crates, if anyone really knows what happens to those poor factory-farmed pigs, they can barely have room to stand. Their tails are clipped so that they don't chew on them because they're so frantic and in such tight quarters. They suffer from sores on their bodies and constantly rubbing against bars of the crates. They're denied straw bedding. The pigs are forced to stand on uncomfortable graded floors, and they're just bred constantly, and the crates are not designed to allow urine or feces to fall through them, so they're constantly in muck. And anyone who has a heart has to know that it's cruel and inhumane to treat any living creature. These are not machines. These are feeling, intelligent animals. In fact, pigs are smarter than dogs. And my motto is, if I wouldn't do it to my dog, I sure won't do it to any other living creature.
Front page of the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, Senate contest tightens. It shows that in a poll done by the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, Max Cleland, 49%, Saxby Chambliss, 44%. That's closed up since September in the Senate race. And the governor's race has widened. Roy Barnes, 51%, Sonny Perdue, 40%. Palm Bay, Florida, good morning.
Morning, Peter. Your opinion poll there, it's funny when they run these opinion polls. They should have also asked, how do you want to test drugs and stuff? Do you want to test it on people or chimpanzees that has the closest DNA to people to be able to test drugs and things that save people's lives? Now, I don't want to be cruel to chimpanzees, but I don't want to be cruel to people either. And like the fish problem for the irrigation problem in Oregon and stuff, I mean, with the technology and stuff, couldn't we have transferred these fish to a lake that didn't have anything to do with irrigation? Why did thousands of people lose their farms and stuff because they couldn't irrigate it because of a fish? And on these zoo places, are they collecting DNA from these? I know they have breeding programs, but are they collecting DNA so that we could reproduce any of these animals that do go extinct? It's common sense. You don't want to be cruel to anything. It always comes back to you. And I think it's this day and time, it's just a shame that they compare illegal immigrants to my forefathers that waited in lines years to get into this country legally, and they compare them to illegal immigrants, saying they have the same rights. What makes you think that they're going to follow the rules once they get here if they're going to come here illegally? Thank you.
We're asking you about the animal rights issue because several ballot initiatives across the country are focused on animal rights. New York City, good morning.
Hi, hello.
Hi.
Yes, I'm on here on vacation and turned on the TV and saw the issue that's going on. I'm listening to
You're watching C-SPAN on vacation?
Yeah, to listen to the other callers calling in. Yeah, I think animals should have rights. They're never going to have the same as humans because humans as a species tend to be lazy and exploit everything else. I listened to a woman call in who was saying that young people should not discriminate against meat, but I don't think we should discriminate against any species, which is what we've always done. And that's why we'll take advantage of animals and eat them and use them for research and whatever. The gentleman that just called and said, common sense, don't test on people, test on apes. I think if you take it a little further, the common sense is that we've been testing on apes for years and still don't have many cures that we should have. The gentleman in Concord who called and said that we need animals to survive for meat. Well, that's not true. Simply not true. We use them because it's easier to get a McDonald's hamburger than to, bake lentils all day, and that's true, and I can appreciate that, and that's probably why animals will never have as many rights as they deserve. It's our own fault. Thank you.
Thanks for your time. Farmington, New Mexico. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you this morning?
Good.
Hey, I think people are missing the whole object here. They're asking what rights should animals have. Illogically, to have any rights, you have to have responsibilities, and animals have no responsibilities. They shouldn't be treated inhumanely. I would agree with anybody. But as far as giving them rights, you had some people calling up saying, or that poll you showed some idiots out there think that animals should have the same rights as human beings do. These pigs that the woman was talking about in the pig farm, I guess, should have a lawyer each. The way these people think, they got to start thinking logically instead of with their emotions. I mean, to think emotionally and say animals should have the same rights as humans is nuts. Well, hey, thanks for talking. Yes, go ahead.
Caller, if you lived in Oklahoma, how would you vote on the banning of cockfighting?
I would probably vote to let them keep doing it. I mean, it's like bullfighting in Spain. It's like bullfighting in Mexico. They have raised these cocks to fight with each other. I don't necessarily think it's a great idea. I've never been to one, and I've got no interest in going to one. But to tell somebody you can't do this, you can't do that, just because you just don't like what they're doing, again, you're trampling on people's rights, I think. Yeah, again, you don't have people condemning bullfighting. You have some people condemning it, but you don't have the government shutting down bullfighting in Mexico and Spain. There's people that are inhumane all over the place, but to put people in jail for, I think one of your deals before, the guy that gets convicted that can go to jail for 10 years. My God, they don't put some murderers in jail for 10 years that kill people. And they're going to put a guy in jail for 10 years for having a cock and not even fighting the thing. They don't even have to catch him fighting it. They're going to put him in jail because he's got one. It's just insanity. Hey.
Taneytown, Maryland. Good morning.
Yes. I somewhat agree with this previous caller that just got off the air. Animals should be treated humanely, but they're not responsible, so how can they have special rights? And I can't see how people can complain about rights for animals, and at the same time, the majority of these people are out protesting, trying to allow babies to be murdered. They're the ones who need special rights to preborn babies, not these animals. And I can't see where the logic comes from. And I just wanted to express my opinion that if they want to protest for these animal rights, where are they for these preborn babies that are being murdered every day? Thank you.
Our next call comes from Broken Arrow, Oklahoma. Good morning.
Good morning, sir. How are you doing?
Good.
I want to echo the prior two call sentiments. I think that animals should be treated humanely. I'm a college-educated individual with four children, and contrary to what the elitists in New York and L.A. seem to think, we can think out here. The cockfighting initiative that's being debated right now in Oklahoma, I had the opportunity not too long ago to be approached by a couple of people pushing this agenda, and one of them was a Katie Couric wannabe from New York City. The other one was an individual from L.A. Who said they lived in Malibu. And I asked both of them, have you even been to a cockfight? Do you know anything about it? And they couldn't answer me yes. Well, we've read about it, we've done this, we've done that. I just think that people absolutely have flipped out over animal rights, and trying to debate an animal rights wacko sensibly about the issues such as this, and here in Oklahoma and Texas, even rodeo, is unbelievable. They use no common sense. They equate animal rights with human rights, and it's just absolutely ridiculous.
So how are you going to vote on the cockfighting issue in Oklahoma?
Absolutely not. Absolutely no. It's ridiculous. It's being pushed by out-of-state PETA groups, and it's unbelievable how the media has helped push the agenda of these people.
And will it pass?
Right now, a couple of polls I've looked at, it's 50-50. It's the people in the rural parts of the state don't want it to pass. Some of the more affluent want it to pass, and I don't know. It's going to come right down to the wire.
We were talking earlier with Dane Waters, who was president of the Institute and Referendum Forum, and if you would like to go to his website, it is I&R Institute inrinstitute.org. And at inrinstitute.org, you can see a lot of the ballot initiatives that are going to be on the ballot this coming Tuesday. Another place to go would be ballotwatch.org. That's another place that has a lot of information about the ballots. Maybe you can get the wording of the Oklahoma ballot initiative. Gerald Weiss of Coventry, Connecticut writes, animals should have any and all rights that protect them from abusive behavior for the sick entertainment of warped individuals. Any action that requires training or altering of an animal's natural instinct should be illegal, and those who alter or train these animals in unnatural behaviors for deranged entertainment should be jailed for a long time. Bullfighting should be banned, and so should any abusive action towards animals that has no value. Baltimore, you're on the air. Good morning.
Hi. I have a couple of things I want to say. One is I agree with the paragraph you just read. We do not have the right to do whatever we want with animals just for our own entertainment. And the second point I want to make is I agree with the callers that say it's ludicrous that you spend more time in jail for cockfighting than for beating your wife, but the answer is not to reduce the penalty for cockfighting. The answer is to increase the penalties for being cruel to other human beings. And that was the main point I wanted to make.
Front page of the Detroit News this morning, News and Free Press, leads with a story that's important to Detroit, of course. Auto sales plummet from 1 year ago, and down below that, election 2002 section, youth soon lose thrill of voting. Age group 18 to 25 has dismal turnout at the polls. It says that less than 25% of that group will vote in the upcoming election. Silver Creek, New York, good morning.
Good morning. First off, I'd like to tell you I really enjoy your show every day.
Welcome.
Oh, thank you. Second, I'd like to preface my statement by saying I'm the biggest animal lover in the world. You'll never find anybody more loving of animals.
Do you have any pets?
Yes, I have a Dalmatian and 3 cockatiels. But I think so much more should be, like other scholars have said, that with the abortion thing, it seems like there's so much more attention being paid to animals than to unborn babies, and I love babies too. So that's about all I got to say. And thanks so much for your show. Bye-bye.
Thanks for calling. Last call on the topic of animal rights, Washington, D.C., Democrat.
Yes, hi. There are so many. Hi, good morning to you. There's so many folks who've called and said that the advocates of animal protection want to equate animals with people and they should have equal rights. That is a ludicrous exaggeration of the position. Here, when we're talking about these ballot measures, we're talking about basic principles of anti-cruelty. No one is saying that the chickens in Oklahoma should have the rights of people, not the right to vote or right to drive a car. They should be protected from the most basic and selfish interest, which is to put them in a pit to hack each other to death for human amusement and gambling. This isn't equating humans and birds. It's saying that we should observe the most basic principle, which is that animals shouldn't be cruelly treated. And I looked at the petition language, and it is a felony, and the cockfighters are opposing this measure in Oklahoma, apparently, because they want to just get a slap on the wrist and consider that the cost of doing business. The reality is only a stiff penalty, and it's 1 to 10 years, and obviously there's prosecutorial discretion there. It's not a maximum of 10 years. And if you look at